This is the new Triumph Tiger Sport 800. It may look like a boring dad bike, but this is actually a stealth hooligan with a wicked triple-cylinder engine. It's a new take on an old formula, the sport touring bike. And in a world chock full of capable ADVs, is this bike still relevant? I'm gonna get this bike out on the road, riding it on some nice twisties and the highway, then back here in the studio to give you a comprehensive breakdown in today's video. I borrowed this bike from my buddy Greg at CTX Moto Works in San Antonio. Check them out in the description box below if you're in Central Texas and looking for a fun motorcycle. All right, enough yapping, let's swing a leg and go for a ride.
All right, boys, Tiger Sport 800 from Triumph. If you are a Versys 650, this is the bike your girl tells you not to worry about, man. Right off the bat, swinging a leg, it's smaller than you'd expect, man. This tank feels very sporty. I like the cutouts here, the yellow 800. The dash leaves a little bit to be desired, you know. That's a little sad, I will say. This is the 660 dash setup with that triple to life. Let's hear it really quick. Zesty little Triumph triples, always a treat, huh? Let's go ahead and take off. Oh, we stalled. Let's go ahead and take off from there, shall we? Show you boys that even your old Papa Yam stalls a little bit. So why was I excited to ride this bike? Is it because I'm an aging dad and these sort of super scooter bikes get me pumped up? No, it's because this type of motorcycle has been sorely missing from the culture, from the motorcycling landscape for many years now. This is sort of machine that, you kind of get on, and it reminds you that this is a pretty simple formula that we need more of in the motorcycle industry. So we're working with about an 800cc triple here, plenty of poke, plenty of grunt, great amount of torque. And one thing that I've kind of noticed about this bike, kind of a weird motorcycle market situation that's happening, is the other big three-cylinder in the marketplace is the MT-09, right? CP3 motor. The Triumph triples have always felt a little more refined, a little bit more race-derived, because they started with the 675s and then bumped them up to 765s and all that stuff. But throughout the past couple of years, Triumph has kind of made these more twin-feeling triples, kind of like the ones found in the Tiger 900 or even the Trident 660. Now, this mill in particular doesn't necessarily feel like a twin, but what it does do is it kind of feels like the MT-09, and the MT-09's gotten a little more refined, such that these three-cylinder offerings now are pretty difficult to tell apart, you know? The way this thing makes its power, how it feels, how it kind of goes down the road with the torque, reminds me a lot of an MT-09. So, we'll grab down 2 gears using the quick shifter, and we light it up in second. Beautiful linear surge in second gear, no dead spots, nothing weird that I've noticed so far. Rolling on 17s front and rear, proper sport rubber as well with the Michelin Pilot Road 6s. And this is a peppy, playful, fun little machine. And that's what I want to emphasize is little. The sport touring category has become these big behemoth motorcycles, right? Even the Tracer 9 GT is a big bike. It was a reason why I actually didn't buy one. I was actually thinking about getting one of those before I got my Touareg 660, but I wanted something a little small, a little bit more playful. I think had this been available when I was looking for my next personal motorcycle, I might have taken a very hard, long look at this machine, because this ingredient here, this all the formulations here for this bike are really nice. It all works in harmony. We have this big, wide handlebar here, very commanding stance. We can flick the bike over on its side really nice and easily. The bike works beautifully for that. And we do have to commend how sporty this Tiger Sport 800 really feels. The quick shifter feeling is okay. One thing I used to love about Triumphs, and I still do, like on my Daytona 675, is the quick shifters have a ultra positive engagement. It really feels like they snap and rip into the next gear. There is actually a slight delay in this Triumph 800. You know, you maybe have it 50%, 60% wide open throttle. You ask for a gear up. there is a noticeable little lag before the gear actually engages. There's no way to adjust the quick shifter as far as I can tell, because this is a relatively rudimentary motorcycle. You can tell by the TFT dash here and the little LCD display. You know, really small, hard to read little screen, and just really basic traction control and functions on this. You have a couple different modes, but you know, you don't have a 6-axis IMU and an adjustable quick shifter and all that fun stuff. It's relatively straightforward, which honestly is kind of a breath of fresh air. A lot of motorcycles nowadays are so overly complicated and laden with technology that something a little bit more bare bones like this, you know, it's kind of nice in the marketplace, you know? There are creature comforts and features that I think most modern motorcycles should come with, right? In my opinion, an easy-to-read dash is one of them. Just a nice, clear, rectangular display, I think, works great. I look at the Kawasaki's or the Hondas or the BMWs. I think they're doing it the best right now. Quick shifter up and down. I mean, this tech has trickled down from everything, and to the point now where entry-level KTM products have a quick shifter up and down. So this bike has that. Cruise control, I think if your bike is ride-by-wire, as this motorcycle is, you can tell no cables coming off of this motorcycle here on the throttle, should have cruise control, right? Why not? And this is a kind of a funny cruise control system in that you tap it to turn it on like this, and then the little yellow light comes on there, and then you can actually tap it again and you are in cruise control mode. You see I'm not touching the throttle, and if I don't slow down I will eventually run into the back of this truck in front of me. But then when you roll off the throttle, the little yellow light stays on, and as far as I can tell, maybe I just don't know the oh, I turned it off. I guess you just got to keep it held for a long time. I was actually kind of talking about how you can't turn it off, but looks like you can, so never mind. You just keep it pressed and eventually it goes away. But you know, this bike tips the scales at about 470 pounds, and with a very sharp rake and trail setup, very similar to the Street 77765. This motorcycle's agile, man. This motorcycle really wants to party. For being kind of a super scooter dad bike, I mean, this thing can really get it. I mean, check this out. We're going to pump it up here a little bit. Super broad, linear power. Picking up some pretty serious speed back there. I mean, in the right hands and in the right set of sticky tires, you could embarrass a lot of motorcycles with this thing, man. I really think you could. Braking components feel great. Really nice feel out of this master cylinder. Nothing too complicated here, right? It's just one of the classic little square setups. You know, I don't feel incredible power and precision from the brakes, but more than enough for a 100% street biased motorcycle as this is. This has no intentions on being a track going motorcycle, so you don't need ultra powerful, you know, ultra precise braking master cylinder components, but you can still pick it up off the side of an Apex and boogie pretty damn good with this motorcycle. I mean, this thing will outrun a lot of bikes. This motorcycle can be ridden very quickly, very fast on road. And what's kind of funny about it is these kind of tall rounders, these sport touring things, because the bones are primarily sport bike bones, I mean, they can really get it. Look how deep I was braking back there. Picking it up right there. This thing wants to party, man. And that's what I first noticed when I started riding it. I'm like, oh, okay, we have a little practical Hooligan right here. This is your everyday commuter Hooligan machine. How fun is this thing, you know? Triumph has really good chops with two different things, in my opinion. Number one is the fueling on their machines. Nearly every Triumph I've ever tried has excellent fueling from the throttle. Really nice on-off throttle feel, really good feeling from the motorcycle. And it's the type of bike that, you know, you just pick up, you ask like between 2 and 5% throttle from 0% back on the gas. It's just so sweet. And what's really nice is, you know, that's great when you're on the brakes and then you pick the bike back up a little bit. When you go back over here, back on the brakes, you pick the bike up back a little bit. You know, those are the small little details that when a bike is cohesive, it all comes together, man. And the second thing that Triumphs do really exceptionally well, in my opinion, is the handling. This is something I've noticed from, you know, the early gen street triples into something like my Daytona. They have a very stable, just genuinely nice way of handling about them. that I really appreciate. Gotta go over that speed bump there. That's where the tall rounder suspension really starts to come into play, is you gotta manage any speed bumps. Look how slow this car is to go over the bumps. I could have gone there 3 times as fast, man, no problem. So, you know, for being a dad bike, it encourages bad behavior. This is why I kind of said it's a practical hooligan bike, because you have this kind of supermoto-y, upright, adventure bikey style stance, but you've got nearly 120 horsepower to play with and a really torquey 3-cylinder motor. Makes it a riot to ride. So it's a lot of fun around some hill country roads. Why don't we get it out on the highway, which is really what this thing is designed to do, crush big miles, right? Let's go get it on some flat, straight tarmac and kind of see how the comfort is on this machine. Now, one would say this is what the Tiger Sport 800 is designed to do. Go on a long, straight road, crunch up some miles, and it's pretty amazing how you get this very fun, sporty motorcycle that is very equally happy at home, you know, doing this sort of thing. And best part of all, we do have an adjustable windscreen, so we pull that up, you get a little more comfort, you know? Now, windscreens are one of those things where it really depends on like your torso size, your head shape, your helmet design. I mean, a lot of those factors can affect whether or not you're getting like buffeting or weird comfort issues. But for me and my size, about 5'11", pretty standard human male, I weigh about 175 pounds. You know, this is working really well for me. It's keeping a lot of the air off of my chest. I can actually feel when I put my hand right here in the middle, it's much less turbulence. And this is the sort of thing that's going to help you be able to do those big miles. I do wish that this motorcycle was spec'd with a pretty simplistic little hand wind guard. I'm not talking about like bark busters or anything that's supposed to be designed on a trail, but typically sport touring and touring style motorcycles have little wind guards here, and that does help keep some of the cold air off of your hands. It's quite warm today here in Texas, so I don't really need it, but you know, if you're gonna be riding this bike year round, or you do live in a colder climate than here in Texas where I live, then you would want those kind of little wind guards around your hand. But honestly, for me, this setup, this bike is like apex predator commuter bike to me, because you have enough street performance, you have enough balls, you actually have a 3-cylinder engine, some real torque and horsepower to play with. It's not the type of bike where you're gonna feel compromised in any way. Like I joked, it's the Versys 650's worst nightmare. It's a bike with actual chops and panache and a motor that actually works pretty well, all at a pretty decent price point. So I don't know, for me, highway potential, definitely a 9 out of 10. I think the only way you could improve this is if you had like a gold wing or something, you know, really touring oriented. But then you're giving up a lot of that like playful, fun motorcycle, you know, that you really want in like a daily bike. And the best part is, hit cruise control, bang. Look at that, dude. I got the windshield, I got the cruise control on. I'm big chillin', buddy. I'm big chillin' on this machine. Cancel it real quick at the reverse lock on the throttle. Yeah, this thing's great. And then when you want to go sporty with it, you just drop the windshield, you get a little bit of that air on your helmet. Man, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am a very big fan of this motorcycle. This is a really sweet package for street duty. And honestly, yeah, like I said, I'd be more than happy to take it out to a track day and go slay a little bit with it. That would be a lot of fun. Back this thing into corners a little bit, put some slicks on it, baby. Why not? Go crazy. Let's get it back in the studio and talk through the specs and learn a few more details about this motorcycle in terms of its frame, its chassis, and some other fun features that it contains.
The Triumph Tiger Sport 800, while being a mouthful to say, is actually a pretty straightforward proposition. My buddy Greg, who owns this bike, says it's one of his all-time favorites. He's got a long commute and thinks that the sound, the vibe, and the capabilities of the bike are just excellent. He says it's surprising, and in his words, it's a middle-aged street triple. And it's kind of hard to disagree. Let's go over the chassis in detail, because that's where this bike really starts to separate itself from the other tall, rounder sport touring or adventure motorcycles. It uses a tubular steel perimeter frame. There's nothing space age or crazy about it, but it helps keep the price down to $12,495 MSRP. This frame is somewhat based on the Tiger Sport 660, but it features some critical changes to bump up to the sport model. It has an aluminium, since we're talking about a British bike today, swing arm. Obviously, it has the signature tall rounder style suspension travel at about 5.9 inches front and rear. But where this bike really starts to shine is that in terms of its geometry, it's really not all that different from a Street Triple 765 RS. The rake and trail are nearly identical at 23.8 degrees and 3.9 inches of trail. It also has a 56-inch wheelbase, only 1 inch longer than a Street Triple. That means this is a sharp motorcycle. It just happens to be a little bit on stilts. Combine that with the extremely svelte 471 pounds wet and ready to ride, and this is an extremely capable dad bike. You can actually tell how aggressive the setup is based on how tall the bar risers stick up off the triple tree. This is similar to what we've seen on the MT-09, for example. Triumph has been building road-biased touring and adventure motorcycles for a pretty long time, so they have genuine chops when it comes to this sort of machine. One of the best parts about it is that it has more than 2 cylinders, which is starting to become a bit of a rarity in this category unless you start speccing up for something like a Versys 1100 or a Ninja 1100, both of which are more expensive than this machine. As mentioned, we have the 798cc triple cylinder mill. It's a signature platform from Triumph, and it makes 113 ponies and 62 foot-pounds of torque. This new engine is actually designed from the ground up, but it takes design cues from both the Tiger 660 and the larger 900 triples that Triumph makes. But it uses a shorter stroke, combining higher revs with more mid-range pull. It definitely has the triple cylinder feel and vibe, but it's got mid-range pull like a twin. Peak power comes in at nearly 11,000 RPM, and it sounds pretty damn good doing it. The Triple also features an upgraded airbox and 3 separate throttle bodies instead of a single intake that you see on the smaller models in their lineup. I will say though, because it doesn't have that specific gear that connects down in the engine, it doesn't do the Triumph whine and the little triple whistle that you hear on the 765. Churning the power out to the rear tire is a 6-speed transmission. It's got some really nice tight gearing, which means you get to really work the gearbox when you ride this bike. The Tiger 800 has 3 simple modes: road, sport, and rain. You're gonna wanna keep it in sport mode all the time, trust me. Each mode adjusts the throttle response and traction control levels, and I just found sport to be perfectly fine. The throttle is controlled by a ride-by-wire system featuring cornering ABS and traction control that utilizes an IMU. Pretty trick stuff for a motorcycle that's sub $13,000. Cornering ABS is really nice to have with a bike that you plan on doing loads of road miles with, and this is basically 100% on-road motorcycle. Cruise control and a quick shifter up and down auto blip systems are standard on this bike. I think in 2025 and beyond, if your motorcycle comes equipped with ride-by-wire, it should just simply have cruise control and a quick shifter up and down as standard equipment. Especially on a touring style motorcycle, these are really nice creature comforts to have. I have them both on my Touareg, and I love it. One gripe I have with this is that at nearly $13,000, this bike has the dashboard from a Trident 660. I can forgive it though because it does come equipped with some really great features as standard, but this is one thing I really don't appreciate since I have to look down at it all the time. The original Triumph Tigers had this really awesome analog rev counter, or even the old Street Triples that use the dash similar to my Daytona with the analog tach. If you're gonna make it low tech, at least include an analog tachometer. It's becoming more and more of a rarity these days. Am I the only one that misses the sweeping needle? Drop me a comment down below if you want those to make a comeback. Speaking of creature comforts and things that all touring bikes should come with, the windshield is adjustable and there are wind deflectors on the side fairings to help with that dispersion. As I noted on the highway section, windshields are a matter of personal preference and individual size. If your torso's bigger, your head's bigger, your results may vary. But I found the ability to quickly pull the windshield up really helps deflect the wind and provide some extra comfort for longer stints on the highway. Suspension's handled by a Showa separate function inverted fork that's adjustable for compression and rebound, but no preload. It's not top shelf stuff and that's not a deal breaker, but it's a street bike and front preload has never bothered me too much on a bike that I'm not dialing in at the track or anything. Having the ability to firm up the ride a little bit and be a little bit more sporty is a nice touch on this specific style of motorcycle. Out back we have an adjustable Showa monoshock for preload and rebound. which is perfect. Even better, the preload has a remote adjuster, meaning you can quickly dial it in for a passenger or a ton of extra luggage. So you set the sag and the desired rebound, and you're golden. Bike handles beautifully. Braking is taken care of by a set of 4-piston radial-mounted J-Juan calipers that are actually Triumph branded. This is a new thing that they're doing, pinching 310mm rotors and a 255 disc out back. Pretty standard stuff for the category, nothing groundbreaking here. The Tiger 800 has plenty of braking performance, and I did not find it lacking. I will say that on an extremely spirited ride that I did not film, I did notice a little bit of brake fade, so maybe a different pad compound is in order. Tire size is the ultra common sport bike setup with a 120/70/17 up front and a 180/55/17 out back. That means you can fit everything from the standard Michelin Road 6s to a Pirelli Supercorsa SP on this machine. Come to think of it, a Tiger 800 with the set of Supercorsas would be such a flex at the track day. Maybe I'll have to see if Greg will let me slay some lap times dad bike style. One all-important spec on this machine is the fuel capacity and range. You're gonna wanna be doing a lot of miles with this bike, and you don't wanna stop at the gas station all the time. The Tiger 800 has a 4.9 gallon tank, which is extremely generous given its smaller size. In testing, I was able to get about 43 miles per gallon, which means that this bike can pretty easily do 200 miles per tank. That means you're not gonna be filling up super often if it's your commuter vehicle, unless you've got a really long commute or you take the fun way back home each day. The Tiger 800 sits like a really nice, comfortable, tall rounder with a 32.7-inch seat height and a very cozy reach to the bars. It's a super comfortable bike for me at 5'11" and about 175 pounds. The Tiger 800 feels much smaller in the saddle than something like a Tracer 9 GT or even the other Tigers that Triumph sells. It's certainly a sport bike first and a touring bike second. After spending a few days with the Tiger 800 and putting quite a few miles on it, it really puts the current state of middle-aged dad bikes into focus for me. Not only are we doing ourselves a disservice with adventure bikes, but I think most riders would have more fun with something like this. If you're the sort of ADV rider who spends more time on pavement than on gravel or trails, then I'm sorry, but you got the wrong tool for the job. And I say this as a guy who loves his middleweight ADV. This is such an interesting category of motorcycle, the sporty all-rounder. And instead of having an anemic 180-degree fuel-sipping little parallel twin that nearly puts you to sleep every time you ride it, you've got this super fun and willing triple cylinder. But the secret party trick this bike plays is the size. It doesn't feel like a big battle tank of a motorcycle, steering it like some kind of barge or a ship. It's still very nimble and willing, just slightly skewed towards the sporty side of things. On the flip side, this isn't an overwhelming amount of power or torque or size that just starts to get a bit unwieldy. Sure, having 160 plus horsepower is a ton of fun in the right situations, but I've often said that about 110 or 120 horsepower, 700 900 cc's, it really is the sweet spot. You get to use a lot of the motorcycle. And best of all, you're not managing a giant bike like a Goldwing or a GS. This motorcycle really is such a sweetheart. It's priced right, it's got some solid features as standard, and you can have a ton of fun with it. So, where does it lose out? Well, the dash really is a sore spot for me. It just doesn't feel premium, and if an entry-level KTM can have a good-looking dash, why can't this Triumph? It's the one thing you keep looking at when you ride the bike. An interesting quirk about this bike is that Triumph also sells the Tiger 900 GT. On paper, it's remarkably similar with a similar mission. Sporty everyday usability, but with a little bit of long-distance comfort. But in my view, the lack of 17-inch wheels, no sport geometry, an 888cc triple that's tuned more like a twin with that offbeat firing order, and in my view, you have the clear winner, the Tiger Sport 800. Oh yeah, and this bike is nearly $3,000 cheaper than the other Tiger. That's a big win in my book. So, this is a really sweet package. We're gonna rate this bike a solid 9 out of 10. If you're looking for a very fun, sporty bike, but you want comfort, versatility, and practicality, truly a do-it-all sport motorcycle, this might just be the knockout bike you've been hoping for. I hope that more manufacturers start building bikes like this because it's time that true sport touring bikes make a comeback. not everyone wants to pretend like they're gonna cross the desert by themselves over 6 days and nights, or ride 800 miles in a day using a 6-cylinder engine. Some guys just wanna pop dank nooners on the way back from work and then hit cruise control for the next 20 minutes while they load up a podcast. The middle-aged street triple sounds pretty good to me. Thanks again to Greg and CTX Moto Works down in San Antonio. Go and check them out if you're in the Central Texas area and looking for your next ride. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.